Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Right now in the MVP, we have an MVP race like super here, so we might as well just put it up right now. Jokic leads MVP straw poll.
Was this why Tatum went off?
I don't know. Maybe Jayson Tatum ranked 4th in it. So what is it? It's Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Tatum, and Luka. That's the 5 right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Luka would be, the guy in that conversation for the 5th spot. But Tatum just beat him in the finals there. So I think that's a pretty good feather in your cap. But this is fair. And the interesting thing, Sherrod, that Bontemps noted here, and he does this poll every year, is that a third of the voters changed their mind this week and switched their vote to Giannis after he won the cup. So maybe if Tatum went and got that cup, Jimmy.
If Tatum, okay, well, let's say this: if let's say the Celtics won the cup, that would obviously you'd assume that means guys like Tatum were playing well for the stretch of those games. There's more eyes on them. And sure, that's called recency bias. Talk to me in 2 months. If the Bucks go on another losing streak and things kind of change direction for them, we're having another completely different conversation. So it's a fun thing to talk about for a couple minutes here. Like it gives people something to debate. But the MVP isn't getting named today for a reason. There's a lot of basketball to go. At the end of the day, I don't think the cup's going to have much of a say. I mean, it's not going to hurt. Certainly, it's not going to hurt.
I don't think we'll be remembering the cup much in February.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of the whole question people have with the cup is like, what is it actually that you do here?
Did you see they rose the banner tonight?
I did not, but that's
no,
hilarious.
They did not.
It was a basic type font, gray banner that just said
Times New Roman.
Yeah,
they went Times New Roman on the banner. Oh no!
let me see if I can find it.
Times New Roman font 12.
Oh, Jimmy, that is so college essay,
dude. I know. Did they like indent? Like did they do like the little paragraph indent to start the banner?
It was the most basic banner you could ever imagine.
See if you can upload us the picture that we. If Amit's listening, let's get a picture.
Hold on,
of that,
I got it here.
That Bucks banner.
Ready? Here we go.
You got it. All right.
Ooh,
oh boy, he's messing with things here. Oh boy.
There you go.
Yeah, that is. That is.
I'm feeling like I'm.
Is that real? Is that real? Are we sure that's real?
Feels Photoshop, doesn't it?
Are we sure that wasn't just Worldwide Wob just making that, Bobby? We're sure about this?
I'm almost certain it's real.
that is the blandest banner I've ever seen.
NBA Cup champions.
They couldn't even put Emirates on there, or they couldn't, put their logo on there.
That is so bad.
How would you like that?
I feel like we're being duped. I honestly feel like we're being duped. That's how bad that is. Amit says it's real. He fact checked it. Thank you, Amit, for fact checking it. That is. And I mean, honestly, if that doesn't sum up the NBA Cup, then I don't like. I think I think the Bucks just made all the points needed for like why the Cup is kind of bad. Yeah, but bad. And they're yeah. Anyways,
hey, I like the Cup. Giannis was great, and you know what? He performed at a level that I think was deserving of the shift in votes. Regardless, I know it's a little silly, Sherrod, to say, "Oh, he won the Cup." I'm voting Giannis, but the increase in play and winning 12 of 15 and all that, I do think warranted it.
Yeah, but the thing, Bobby, about the whole, Giannis and MVP and Jokic and all that is winning. I mean, it's easier to get behind a guy for MVP if he's winning. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge that people who love what Jokic is doing and how unprecedented what he's doing are struggling with, because it's like, yeah, he's probably having the best individual season. Does that make him the MVP? Because his team is at best mediocre, at best. And are you saying the best player in the league is the leader of a mediocre team?
Well, Jokic right now. I mean,
let's just put it this way: I will not be surprised if he does not get MVP.
Who
would not be surprised?
Jokic?
Especially if Denver continues to be a 500-esque team.
I think it will come into play. Certainly, it'll come into play at the end if they're a non-factor team at the end of the season. And I mean, if we're talking about them not even maybe making the playoffs, then I don't know how you could make that argument.
That would be something.
Even if they're in a play-in game, I mean, how does that look? Your league, the best player in your league is the 8th seed,
Typically, you're above 6. I think Russ that year was 6. I want to say.
Yeah, I can't see Denver and Jokic, I can't see Jokic being MVP if Denver doesn't finish somewhere in the playoffs, not outside of the play-in. They have to be above the play-in format. Can't see
it's just hard to imagine whether it's Giannis, whether it's Shea, who I think is deserving of mention here too, despite his slip up in the cup that didn't even count. I just have a hard time imagining Tatum winning it because I have a hard time imagining Tatum ever winning it in this incarnation of the team. And we've talked about this before. I know Noah mentioned it a week ago or so, that they're so team oriented, that they're so equal opportunity that he doesn't get to run it up like a Luka does or like some of these other guys do, to the point where he'd be running away statistically with this thing. And that's the debate you'll have with Jokic, right? Because he's 31, 14, and 10. Just unprecedented stats that blow your mind when you look at them. And a lot of times that's going to be what sways people's mind on this thing. And of course, his on-off numbers are ridiculous. And we just watch him and know he's probably the most impactful guy in the league right now. But to Sherrod's point, when you have Tatum leading all of the winning in Boston that they're doing, and if they're going to be the best team in the league this season, that's something that has to go into account as well here. And again, I would not vote Tatum right now. I can't see him winning it this year. Will he ever win in his career? Maybe at some point down the line, Jimmy, where he's able to carry this team. But a lot of times this is who's carrying their team single-handedly, like we saw with Tatum tonight. We don't see that too often with the Celtics.
No, we don't, and they don't need to. I mean, you're right. The team is not built for. It's not really. It's too good for an MVP.
It's not heliocentric, as they say, right?
It's too good for an MVP, and that doesn't say that Denver hasn't had good teams. They've had great teams. When they won the finals, they had a great team, but they didn't, like, their role players were not as talented as the Celtics quote unquote role players were, right? I mean, they probably had what. Who am I missing? Point guard that I love on Denver, who's not doing well.
Murray.
This year. Yeah, Murray. Murray had a great year the year they won the finals. But
it's interesting too, because Tatum does have a story this year, right? We've talked about it with the Olympics and everything. So
yeah,
I mean that should be working in his favor.
And also he got a hot start where he all of a sudden he was vaulted up to the top right off the bat. But again, fizzled a little bit. The shooting hasn't been quite as consistent as it should be. But if he can put together, again, more games like tonight, which is not a hot take, obviously he might re-enter into the top there. If the Celtics continue to win games at the rate they're winning, Cleveland comes back down to earth maybe a little bit, and the Celtics can pull away in that East. Now, all of a sudden, Sherrod's argument comes into play a little bit more with, okay, it was the best player on the best team, a team that pretty much everybody thinks is going to repeat. He needs to get, it's funny how quickly the narratives can change, right? It's so media based. It's really just kind of.
It happened this week with Giannis.
Exactly. Yeah. It's who's driving it.
What do you think of his standing in the straw poll? We talked about it earlier.
Tatum's?
Yeah, he's
what
fourth.
Was he fifth?
Fourth. Ahead of Luka and behind Jokic, SGA, and Giannis.
Yeah. It's tough. Honestly, this is like one of my least favorite conversations because we don't seem to have a consensus as a country or as a media about what MVP is.
Hey, there's a team in Canada.
Okay, as a National Basketball Association, because some years you have to have one of the top seeds, and if not, it's like sucks that you're having a good year because you're on a team that's not winning enough. In which case, Giannis and Jokic both are not on super winning teams right now. I mean, I know the Bucks are turning things around, but if you're looking at those two teams' records, they're not. Oh, I mean, what's the Nuggets record at this point?
14 and 13.
14-11. So they're the 6th seed, and then the Bucks are 15 and 12. So I'm surprised that you can still have that. That can be
the Bucks
a record.
Won the cup though.
Yeah.
Jeez, Bobby, enough.
I just don't care.
I don't want to hear that anymore. It's over. And I don't. No, did you see the banner? I don't even want to call it a banner.
No, it was so ugly. I thought it was fake. I saw it. I was scrolling through Twitter and I was like, there's just no way this is real.
We thought it was fake too. Honestly, I think it would have been better off for the league if it was fake.
but I but I thought Joe actually said something post game that kind of resonated with me, is that it's not, Tatum might not be the most dominant player. He's not the most dominant player right now. But that people take for granted how he fits with this team. And I think that's what I've been trying to get at, is that I feel like people have this feeling of like, if you put Giannis on this team instead of Tatum, or if you put SGA, or if you put Luka on this team, like the team would be better. And that's where I disagree. Maybe he's not as dominant as them. And if MVP is like a dominant stats award, then he's not going to be in the running, or he's not going to be legitimately in the running.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. Would you rather have X, player X? And
you can't take for granted that a guy in his prime is going to be willing to play the way that Tatum has played, and that he's going to be able to be so versatile and guard 1 through 5 and kind of do everything that's asked of him, and never, like KP said, like a lot of guys, they say they're about winning, but they're not. And so this is the thing. I'm not pushing for a Tatum MVP right now, because I just don't know that he's done enough. But a lot of times it has been the best player on the best team. And I feel like with him, it's not been that. And maybe it's because the second best player is so close, and in fact has been the best player at points. And so maybe that's where he gets hurt. But if he's going to have more games like tonight, he's going to force the conversation. It's just that these games haven't been, there haven't been many of them.
More of an anomaly.
I said it earlier, Noah. He last scored 43 in January, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the fact that this on any given night, any 1 through there's 6 guys that could lead the team in scoring pretty much on any given night, it feels like. So it makes sense that those types of performances don't happen that often, because they're just not needed.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.